If you want to help your swimmers go fast, you have to help them learn how to take their foot off the brake. Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. In this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about how to improve horizontal alignment in freestyle. We're going to go over what it is, what it looks like, why it matters, the challenge of improving it, my favorite solutions for improving it, how to use those solutions, as well as some practical examples that you can implement today or you can use as inspiration to create your own sets. Let's dive in. So what is horizontal alignment? Well, to go fast in freestyle, swimmers need to move through the water as straight as possible. So the smaller the profile they create, the faster they're going to swim. Just like if you stick your hand out of the window in a car, when you have that smooth profile, the hand's going to slip right through as opposed to being buffered by all that resistance. And creating great horizontal alignment in freestyle can be difficult because of the structure of the body. There's a natural tendency for the legs to sink because the legs are a lot denser than the upper body, especially because the lungs are in the upper body. So one side's going to rise up a little bit, the other side's going to sink down. So now you have a profile, instead of moving straight through the water, we're at an angle, and that's going to create more resistance. To make matters worse, keeping the head low is going to be perceived as a threat by most swimmers, most humans. People like to see where they're going, so swimming with the head down, looking at the bottom of the pool as opposed to looking forward is pretty uncomfortable for a lot of people, especially at first. And we all like oxygen. We need it to survive, so when the head's a little bit lower in the water, that can be perceived as a little bit more of a threat because it's that much further that we have to move the head, move the body to breathe. So again, because of the natural tendencies for the structure of the body, as well as the threat of having the head in the water, horizontal alignment can be difficult to maintain in freestyle. These factors often lead to a situation where the head is up, the hips and legs are down, so instead of moving straight through, now we're moving at an angle, and that means more resistance, a poorer profile, and compromised alignment. And the more resistance swimmers create, the more drag they create as they move through the water, that means less speed. They're literally hitting the brakes and slowing them down when they move through the water in anything but optimal alignment. And it doesn't take big changes to lead to big losses in speed. Even subtle distortions in alignment can be impactful, and because swimmers can never swim too fast, every little bit adds up, and we want to do everything we can to help swimmers be as aligned as possible as they move through the water. And so regardless if swimmers are swimming distance events or sprint events, the same positions, the same principles apply. So if we watch this swimmer here, you can see that the head is down, the hips are up at the surface, and even though he's rotating, he's changing his position, he's still maintaining that effective horizontal alignment in the water. The head is in alignment, the hips are in alignment, and the legs are up at the surface. This is a great example of maintaining great horizontal alignment as the swimmer moves through the water, keeping everything straight, creating as little resistance as possible so that every time he creates propulsion, it's going to create more speed because he doesn't have his foot on the brakes. So a great example of awesome horizontal alignment. We can see the same thing with sprinters here. You can see that the head is down, the hips are up at the surface, and the feet are up at the surface. And so they're maintaining the same position even though they're swimming really, really, really fast. They're not allowing the body to incline excessively. They're keeping everything in line. The head's down, the hips are up at the surface, and that's going to allow them to move through the water with as little resistance as possible, allowing them to create as much speed as possible with each arm pull and each leg kick. So all the propulsion they create, as much of it as possible, is going to be used to create forward speed as opposed to overcoming unnecessary resistance. Again, it's not complicated. They just need to swim as straight as possible, but just because it's not complicated doesn't mean it's always easy for swimmers to do. And that's the challenge we have, is helping them learn how to do so. So we've alluded to it slightly, but I want to really emphasize, why does it matter to maintain great horizontal alignment? Well, the water is really dense, and it's going to do everything it can to slow swimmers down. That means less speed, and it means more effort. So not only are they going to swim slower, they're going to fatigue faster because they have to overcome more resistance in order to create the same amount of speed. Slower swimming and less efficient swimming is not a recipe for success. And drag gets worse the faster swimmers go. It's not linear, it's exponential. So as swimmers improve and they start swimming faster and faster, any alignment issues that they have are going to become more and more costly because they're going to create exponentially more drag than they would if swimmers were optimally aligned in the water. And so these errors begin to limit performance more and more and more, and so it becomes more and more important to get everything in line and get swimmers moving straight through the water. The other issue too is that swimmers can only become so fit and so powerful They can only create so much force, they can only create so much propulsion, and they can only develop their metabolic systems to a certain level. So if they want to create more speed, they can build a bigger engine for a while, but at some point they're going to have to address the other side of the equation, which is reducing the amount of energy they need to achieve a certain speed. So if swimmers can improve their alignment, they're going to reduce their energy demands, which is instantly going to improve their fitness. And so if you can reduce the amount of energy that it takes to move at a certain speed by improving alignment, it's a lot easier to make swimming easier because it literally reduces how much energy is required to hit a certain speed. So improving horizontal alignment is a critical aspect of improving speed and improving performance in freestyle. So what's the challenge in improving horizontal alignment in freestyle? Well, the more we understand the problem, the easier it is to find solutions that are going to be really effective at improving this skill. So alignment mistakes are typically small and they're typically subtle. And so a lot of swimmers will really struggle to feel them. And if they can't feel these changes, they're not aware of them, it's going to be really difficult for them to change them. And simply telling swimmers they're making a mistake isn't always particularly helpful, especially when they can't feel that they're making that mistake. Another big challenge with alignment is that in many cases, we're not adding new movements, we're trying to get rid of unnecessary movements. There's not necessarily a specific movement that swimmers have to try to create. They're trying to not deviate from that ideal position. And so what they don't do matters because if they don't deviate, then they're going to move through the water straight with great alignment. And for these reasons, to create change, we can't necessarily rely on instruction because if they're not aware, they can't feel it, it doesn't really matter what we tell them. So we have to provide them with the opportunity to feel these changes. And once they have awareness, then they have the power and the ability to create change. So with an understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, an understanding of the challenges that are in front of us, it's time to dive into the solutions that are ultimately going to help swimmers go fast. We'll cover my preferred solutions for this skill, and then I'll provide you with a couple sets that show you how to use these strategies. So the first drill that I like to use is called the ball float to X float. So swimmers learn how to feel the support of their lungs, and then they can use that flotation to stay better aligned. So if swimmers aren't using the support of the lungs, they're going to have to compensate in order to create some sort of buoyancy, and that almost always is going to lead to disruptions in alignment. Once they can feel the lungs, they can learn how to lean into the lungs to reduce that tendency for the hips to sink, and that's going to encourage better alignment. Swimmers can also learn how to hold their legs up and create tension in the back of the legs to maintain an aligned position as they move through the water. And by moving the legs, swimmers can also experience different levels of tension. Finally, swimmers learn to manage their position dynamically. By moving back and forth between different positions, they're going to learn control, which is critical because managing alignment in freestyle is an active process where they have to maintain alignment, where there's a lot of other things going on with the arms, with the legs. So here's the exercise in action, and what they're going to do is they're going to get in a ball, they're going to float, and then they're going to expand out, and they're going to try to maintain their position on the surface of the water as well as they can. So they're going to have to lean into their lungs in order to support their hips, and they're going to have to create some tension in their legs in order to establish the heels up at the surface of the water. So they're learning how to maintain and manage an effective horizontal alignment and effective position in the water. So to reiterate what we just saw, it's important that swimmers learn to lean into the water, and it's also important that they learn how to create tension to lift the legs up to the surface. And most importantly, they have to dynamically manage those positions, moving back and forth between the positions and still maintaining a rock-solid alignment on the surface of the water. So the next activity that I like is elevator swim, and that's where swimmers start with the head up high and then progressively lower their head over the course of a 25 when they're swimming freestyle, or they can start low and end up high. And so where the head goes, the body follows, and it has a huge influence on the position of the rest of the body. When you get the head position right, body position tends to follow, and that tends to mean effective horizontal alignment. While it would be easy to tell each swimmer exactly where to put their head, one of the challenges, though, is that there isn't one right position for every swimmer. They have different lung sizes and location, so their buoyancy is going to be a little bit different. There are going to be different leg sizes and location is relevant because different swimmers have different muscular and body fat distribution patterns, and that's going to affect how the legs ride in the water independent of their length. Swimmers are also at different height, which changes everything as well. So we can help swimmers figure out their best position for them by allowing them and encouraging them to explore a range of different head positions, which is going to help them explore a range of different body positions. To help encourage that exploration, change it up. Have them go fast, have them go slow, use different training aids, use as many different variations as possible in order to provide them with as much information as possible to help them figure out what's going to work best for them. So here it is in action. Start with a really high head position and then gradually lower the head position. And you want to start excessively high and you want to end up excessively low. And you can reverse that starting with a low position and moving to a high position as well. And so the key is to explore a range of positions. And if you watch here, you can see that the hips will gradually come up as the head gets lower and lower. And it's not that lower is better, it's finding the right position that's going to be most effective for each swimmer, and that's what we're really trying to accomplish. So again, as the head position changes, so too will the body position. And when swimmers can learn to manage their head position, they're going to improve their body position. But they have to figure out what is going to be the most effective head position for them that allows them to move through the water with the best alignment. And by using the elevator swim drill, we're having them explore, and the more context we can have them explore, the more likely it is that they'll figure out and be able to feel which position is going to be most effective for them. A powerful strategy that can work with any activity is overspeed. So by swimming really fast, typically with fins, we can help swimmers become more aware of their alignment and help them improve their alignment. So the rationale: drag is subtle and it's hard to feel. And the faster swimmers go, the more drag they're going to create as they move through the water. The more drag they create, the more drag they can feel. That way, less obvious mistakes become more obvious. For instance, if a swimmer is swimming with the head too high, they may not be aware of it, but if they're swimming really fast, they're going to feel all that pressure on the chest, and that's going to allow them to make the change that they need in order to improve their alignment. So whenever you use overspeed, it makes any strategy that you're already using even more effective. So what do? You have swimmers go really fast and pay attention to the drag that they're creating. You can use the drills, you can even use added resistance on top of it, and the goal is to build awareness over time. If they can learn to be more aware of what they're feeling as they move through the water, if they become more aware of the resistance they're creating as they move through the water on different aspects of their body, then they can start to make those changes, and they can make those subtle changes that they otherwise wouldn't be able to feel, and those little changes are going to add up to big improvements in speed. The next strategy is using t-shirts and weight belts. And as we've discussed so far, a big challenge in improving alignment is the issue of feel. And so we have to use strategies that help swimmers better feel how they're moving through the water and how much resistance they're creating as they move through the water. So by using t-shirts and weight belts, we're pulling swimmers out of position where they have to work harder to maintain position, or we're creating more drag over certain areas of the body, and that's going to further challenge swimmers to overcome that drag. And then when we take the challenge away, it's going to be easier to be successful. They'll feel themselves slipping through the water, and that contrast, again, helps them become more aware of the drag that they're creating, both with the added gear and without the added gear. And just like with overspeed, just like with the ball float, just like with elevator swim, more awareness means more opportunity to change. And if we change the input, we change the sensory information that they're experiencing, that's going to change the output, that's going to change what they can do, how they can execute their swimming. What's important is not just to have swimmers swim with the added challenge, you want to ask for performance. You want speed, stroke count, stroke rate combinations in order to force swimmers to explore different ways to be successful. And if you ask them to perform at higher and higher levels with the gear, they're going to have to find better and better solutions in order to accomplish those goals and achieve those objectives. You can use it with drills, you can use it with fatigue, anything goes. You just want swimmers focused on maintaining their alignment as best as possible in spite of the added challenge. And then when the gear comes off, they really want to lock in and make sure they're executing at a really high level. Finally, you always want to ask for performance. Regardless of the skill you're trying to improve, asking for performance is a key aspect of driving better skills. You can use stroke counts, you can use stroke rates, you can use speed, and you can use a combination of all three. The key is you're asking for better performances and you're encouraging swimmers to explore how to achieve those performances via better skills. In the context of improving horizontal alignment, you can do it in one of two ways. You can use the sensory activities and then perform with regular freestyle. So for instance, you do 425s elevator swim. That helps them get a feel for their position, and then you go 425s freestyle, minimize stroke count and time. Of course, you can do it in any sort of set, any sort of context. The second strategy is perform during the sensory activities and then perform during freestyle as well. So 425s freestyle with fins, minimize stroke count and time, and they're going to do ball float to X float before each 25, so they get a feel for what they're doing, and then they're going to try to be fast and efficient, maintaining great alignment during those 25s. And then in the second 425s, then they're just going to do it straight up freestyle, again, minimizing stroke count and time to try to perform. So two options, they both work really well. It just depends on what you want to achieve. Regardless, ask for performance and swimmers will find a way to perform. And when you're doing so in the context of improving horizontal alignment and freestyle, that's the skill that's going to get better. So here's the first set to show some of these solutions in action. They're going to go 4 50s, 25 elevator swim, 25 freestyle. The odds, the elevator goes from low to high. The evens, it goes from high to low. 75 freestyle solid effort, trying to have that same great alignment, and then 25 freestyle strong effort. So this is more of a skill-focused set. There's not a huge amount of pressure on performances or fatigue or speed. Those 425s are going to figure out which position is going to work best for them, and then they're going to perform during those 75s and 25s. And as they go through, they're going to try to go faster on the regular freestyle, and on the 50s, they're going to build each 25, and then they're going to descend the 50s 1 to 4 on the last round. That added change in speed is going to encourage them to swim differently. They'll get a little bit more sensory information, and they can figure out a better way to execute with great head position. And lastly, before each repetition, they're going to go 5 times ball float to X float, so they get a feel for how to maintain that position in the water, how to use their lungs, use their legs to stay aligned, and then they'll try to carry those skills over into each of the swims. So a great way to develop skills while keeping them moving a little bit. This set is a little bit more of an endurance focus, so they're going to go 425s, odds elevator swim with a weight belt. They're going to descend those across the rounds, and then the evens are freestyle with a weight belt, minimize stroke count and time. So they'll do that before each round, and then they'll do some hundreds. They're going to descend at the same stroke count. They're going to drop a rep and go faster each round. So what we're trying to accomplish here is the weight belt is going to pull swimmers out of alignment, and that's going to magnify what they feel during the elevator swim, and then they've got to execute during the regular freestyle and make sure that they still stay in great alignment. And then they're going to stay long, try to create some speed on those hundreds, and try to get better as they go. So they're experiencing a pretty big challenge on those 25s, and then on the hundreds, they're going to try to execute, and they're going to try to perform at higher and higher levels, staying long, staying efficient, and maintaining better alignment as they do so in order to create more speed. So we're using drills, we're using the resistance strategy, and then we're also challenging swimmers to perform in this set. And if you don't have weight belts, you can use t-shirts, you can use shorts, something that's going to challenge their position in the water and will also create more drag on their body as they move through the water. Last set is more of a speed set, and we're going to use the overspeed strategy here. So before each swim, they're going to perform some ball float to X float repetitions, and that's going to help them get locked in with their alignment. And they're going to go 2 rounds through this. They'll go 325s with fins as fast as possible at 1.0 seconds per cycle. You can use stroke counts as well. The idea is to create some speed and length. Then they're going to go 25 freestyle without fins. And then they're going to go 2 and 1, and then 1 and 1, but they're going to drop the rate, and they're going to go 2 rounds through this. So they're going to be swimming pretty fast here, and that's going to allow them to feel more resistance. And by doing the exercise before each one, they're going to have a feel for how to maintain great alignment, and they're going to try to create as much speed as they can without picking up the stroke rate. And the better aligned they are, the more speed they're going to be able to create. And by performing the drill before each swim, they're going to have more awareness of what they need to do during those faster repetitions. So horizontal alignment is a key skill in freestyle. The more swimmers can move straight through the water, the less resistance they'll create, and that means more speed for less effort. The challenge with improving alignment is that it's not necessarily a concrete skill that swimmers have to execute, and it can be difficult for them to feel. So we have to provide them with strategies that allow them to feel how much resistance they're creating as a result of less than optimal alignment, and then challenge them to change that position in order to create performances and improve their skills. And when they can do that, they're going to improve their alignment, and that means they're going to swim faster. If you want more information like this, be sure to subscribe, and I'll continue to bring you the content that helps you help your swimmers get faster. Hope that was helpful, and as always, keep it simple.